what brought us to Jesus Christ and helped us look for a love of the Scripture. And it was because of that that I wanted to be open to the big picture that you're talking about. Right. It's not just the narrow perspective where there's this narrow perspective that is Baptist and this narrow perspective is Presbyterian and this narrow perspective that's Methodist. We all believe in sola scriptura, yet we can't sit at the same table and agree on any of the issues. Yeah. You know, those are some of the issues we try to deal with in this program. And we've already got some phone calls and emails. Yeah, let's go on to one. They have to deal with what we're talking about anyway. Let's take the phone call right now. Hello. What's your name and what's your question for us tonight?
Hi, Marcus.
Hello.
My name is Susan, and I'm calling from Washington, D.C.
Welcome. What's your question for us?
You do a lot of debates, I think probably especially Father Mitch, and do you think those are really constructive?
Thank you for the question.
Do you do debates?
Well, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Just with my wife and I debate once in a while.
That's not a debate.
In charity.
Yeah, I do a lot of debates. For one reason, I'm more of a brat than Marcus is, and fits in my own personality. And and I'm not a slam dunk type of debater. You got to win at all costs. That's just ridiculous. But I do think that they do a lot of good for a couple of reasons. A, it makes me do some homework. What are the questions that other people are asking? And I have to look up what the answers are. A second important thing besides helping me and clarify my own thought, as a matter of fact, I had a roommate in grad school who had left the faith and went to a non-denominational denomination, and he really was scared not to be Catholic. They had frightened him about being Catholic. It's not that he loved them so much, so he did, but he really was scared to be Catholic. And he and I would debate a lot, and I learned a lot from it. So that's good. But the other thing is, a lot of people out there think that Catholics don't have an answer to the criticisms of the faith. And, some people have suggested, are you tilting at windmills? I don't think so. I think that it is important to let people know respectfully and from the text of the Scriptures that how much we love the Scriptures, that we base what we believe on the Bible, and that we do have answers for this. Now, maybe you won't accept these answers. That's something else. And I might not convince the person I'm debating, but they will also see that we have a response. And then let me give a response from a couple of people who have watched the debates. One a revert, one a convert. A good friend of mine who I debated was Walter Martin. You probably knew of him. Walter Martin was considered the top apologist in the Baptist Church, fighting against the cults, the occult. He dealt with Mormonism, Jehovah's Witnesses, and he came up with really very good research, knowing what they did. And he was somebody who was fun to debate because A, he respected us Catholics, and he definitely was someone who said, to me, and on the radio when we were together, that he recognized that Catholics are Christians. Now, we're going to disagree on a lot of issues, but he did not deny that we're Christians, and that he and I prayed together before we debated, and we had a warm friendship. And when he passed away, it's 8 years ago, almost 9 years ago now. His wife called all over the country to track me down to make sure that I got to the funeral, which I was, saddened to do, but glad to be there right behind his family. But Walter, was debating me, and somebody I hope you have someday, Tim Staples. Tim watched the debate. He brought one of his buddies from the Navy to watch the debate, and didn't invite him back because he saw this Catholic is holding his own in a debate, and that again, that was for him a revelation. Catholics can hold their own, but at times, as he noticed, as he watched the tape, they were not answering back, or they were cutting out part of my answer and things like that. And he watched the tape 7 times. He bought the tape, watched them 7 times, and now he's a Catholic, and the rest of his family's Catholic. His brother's a priest, and they're doing wonderfully well. Whereas, can I tell you one more story about Walter too? There's this one fellow, Scott Butler, whom you know. He and a couple other men have written a book called Jesus, Peter, and the Keys. Powerful book. Scott had left the church, became a Protestant minister, and he came to some of my lectures in San Diego about 15 years ago. And this guy just wouldn't leave me alone. And I had a practice of studying in the afternoon. I'd go for a swim in the study in the morning, swim in the afternoon, lecture at night. Well, I'd get out of the water from the beach in San Diego. He'd be at my blanket. Said, "All right, now put in purgatory." Which he just really go at it. And this went on for a couple months. But then I said, "Look, Scott, I can't be at the beach tomorrow. I have to go have lunch with Walter Martin. He invited me up, and I'm going to go to this." And Scott, I said, "Oh, can I go? Can I go?" Hold on. The bathroom's out there. And I said, "I'll ask." And sure enough, Walter welcomed him. Well, Walter and I were sparring back and forth, as we did. But what Scott noticed was that Walter didn't answer any of the objections we brought, any of the defenses. Walter had no answer, again and again and again. And it broke Scott's heart. But he also said, "I have to come home." That I'm coming back to the Catholic faith. So in some of these cases, not only do you see that the Catholics get to present their position, but in his case, he saw that Walter couldn't answer it, and he wanted to come back to the Catholic Church.
It was the biggest surprise for so many of our non-Catholic brothers and sisters that they don't think that Catholics can defend the Church. And sadly, there are many Catholics that don't know their faith well enough to defend it, and we've got to remind our listeners that Scripture says that we're always to be prepared to make a defense to anyone who calls you to account for the hope that is in you. That's in 1 Peter.
And chapter 3, verse 15.
Yes, and the rest of that, though, says, "Yet do it with gentleness and reverence."
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We are not to use truth as a cudgel, it's with charity.
Absolutely. And remembering, the big issue in that is we don't convert anybody. I don't convert anybody. That is not my job. Again, conversion is management. God is management.
That's right.
I don't have the grace. All I can do is present a reason, and to do so with respect for the other person's conscience. That they have to look at the evidence and understand it. They can disagree. That's fine. And I can't make them agree. And I can't make them have faith. But I can at least present the reasons to believe.
We're seed planters. Yeah, that's what we are. Let's take a quick email. This